Welcome to the Morning Sanity Check, where we talk about the different pillars of resilience: spiritual, physical, social, and mental. Join us so we can talk about it, then be about it. Let the show begin.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, how are you? Welcome to Sanity Check. I am your host, Camille. Seth is not with us today. He had some things that he had to take care of because, as you know, life happens. So, with that being said, we're going to talk today about being emotionally unavailable. Are you emotionally unavailable? And what does that mean? So come on in. Love to see y'all. Hey, Herm, what's going on? What's going on? Good to see you guys. Going to talk a little bit about this emotional unavailability. All of us may be guilty at some point in our lives. All of us may have known someone who may be emotionally unavailable, but we're going to talk about what that looks like. So as you come on in, good morning. Good morning. Make sure you make sure you share with all your friends, because we want to have some of this good conversation. So, yeah. So we're going to talk about it, get right into it this morning. You know, we have about an hour and a half. So we're going to talk, hopefully get some real good conversation going with this, because you may be the emotionally unavailable one once we go through all of this. So, hey, Mom, good to see you on here. Thanks for showing up. Please share as you come on. So, what is being emotionally unavailable? Emotionally unavailable really is like, it describes a person who really isn't open to discussing any of their feelings, sharing their feelings. They're very evasive. You know, they don't want to make any time commitments. They don't want to make any plans with people. You kind of never really get to know who they are because they're very evasive. Like I said, emotionally evasive. Anytime you want to talk about them, you know, sometimes they want to flip it back on you. They want to flip it back on you and be like, oh, so what about you? And you feel like you can never get a real sense of who this person is. So those people, you know, those are just some traits of being emotionally unavailable. And I think that a lot of us have met these people, but didn't really quite know what was going on. You know, sometimes they have difficulty trusting people. You know, they don't really form real good, tight relationships and things like that. So they also have a really hard time receiving love and giving love, receiving love and deep emotions from other people. You know, anytime somebody gets close to them, they want to push them back. And it's just because, you know, like we say all the time, you really can't give what you don't have or what you don't know how to receive. You never gotten it. And so therefore it's hard for you to accept that from other people because it's an uncomfortable feeling. And so a lot of this emotional unavailability starts when you're a kid. It starts as a kid. You know, we talk about attachments. Those of you who probably went through, you know, some sort of psychology class or something like that, and they talk about the different attachment styles. And when we're talking about emotional unavailability, we're really kind of, it's closely related to the avoidant attachment style. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but basically kids learn to unattach themselves when their caregivers are inconsistent, not trustworthy. They lose trust in their caregivers, and they never are really able to address the wounds that they have. So they just withdraw from people. And as we know, kind of the things that we go through as kids, it tends to follow us through adulthood. And then we attach those same things to our we attach those same things to our adult relationships. So good morning, everyone on here. So glad to see you as we're talking about emotional unavailability. And we were just going over what that is really, that avoidant attachment style, people who just cannot, there's no emotional depth to them. So how can we really find out if maybe the person that we're with is emotionally unavailable, or conversely, if we're emotionally unavailable, because it takes a level of self awareness to know what those signs are, to be able to say that, communicate that with somebody else, so that we're not stringing people along, not understanding fully why we cannot connect with people. This is a good way to find out. So, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. My co host, Seth, is out today. I'm taking care of life. You know, life happens to us all. So, uh, glad you guys are joining me today. Please share this segment. Hopefully, it will be of use to you guys. So, going back to what are some of the telltale signs of being emotionally unavailable? Have you ever met a person who really has never been in? You ask them about their relationship history, and they're like, "Oh, well, I never had any long-term relationships." You know, they might be in their late 30s, 40s, and even 50s, and they say, "Well, you know, I just never found the right person." You know, say, well, what's the longest relationship you've ever been in? Oh, you know, a couple months here and there. Well, what happened? Oh, you know, it just didn't work out. You know, very evasive about what it is. And typically that is because they're probably emotionally unavailable. Could be due to childhood, could be due to maybe a trauma in one relationship, and they decided that they just couldn't trust anybody anymore. But they've never had any type of long-term relationships. And I'll tell you this too, in my 40s, I have met so many people my age and older who, and there's nothing wrong with it, don't get me wrong, who have never been married or have never had any sort of real relationships. And I wonder, how do you go through that many years and never connect to a person in a deeply intimate way? You know, but this is probably one of those things. And anytime someone tries to get close to them, you know, it really opens up their vulnerability, which scares them. And so they will cut people off at the drop of a dime. Like, and then you'll be like, well, what happened to that relationship? Oh, so and so was such a nice girl. And they were like, oh, no, you know, she was too clingy. She was too needy. She was just, you know, I mean, I don't know. She just wanted too much. She was trying to get too close. I can't do that. You know what I mean? She was just trying to get, I don't know. She wanted to spend too much time with me. You're like, well, don't you want to spend time with the person that you like? You know, that you're trying to get to know. Oh no, you know, I like my space. And then you're like, is it really the person? You know, was it really that bad, or is there something else going on in the background? And again, like I said, you know, it's that avoidant attachment. They don't trust people with their feelings. They don't trust them being vulnerable. Therefore, they tend to shut down and would rather cut off a good thing than to open up emotionally and have that, or start to get that emotional depth in a relationship with someone. And so I'm going to repeat that one more time. So, an emotionally unavailable person is one who is very evasive, one who does not want to be emotionally vulnerable. They may have outbursts of anger. They may, you know, be very distant. They may cut somebody off at the drop of a dime for no real reason. They can be kind of hard to read, maybe a little bit flaky at times, and don't want to have any real commitment. And that includes time commitments with people. So, you know, when it comes to making plans and things, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. So, what are some other telltale signs of an emotionally unavailable person? I'll say this: they don't want to talk about real stuff. I know some of you guys have probably been in relationships where you just felt like it was very, very superficial. Like, we don't talk about our hopes. We don't talk about our dreams. We don't talk about our visions. We don't talk about, you know, family. Like, how was your childhood? Oh, it was good. And you're like, okay, well, what was good? You know what I mean? What was good about it? How was your family dynamic? Oh, you know, we was cool. You know, me and my siblings got along. You know, mom and dad got along, or whatever. And you're like, you never really get a sense of this person's life. There's just, they continue to evade the questions. The communication is very surface level. You never get to really, that sense you leave and you're like, I still don't know this person. I've been seeing this person for 6, 7 months and I still don't get a good sense of who they are. Who is this person? I know about their family. I know about, but there's no feeling attached to it. It's just like, this is what we did, or this was the dynamic, but there's absolutely no feeling about who this person is in terms of how they are with their family. And so, it's the communication that has to happen. Now, everybody who doesn't have a good childhood experience or whatever isn't emotionally distant or unavailable. That's not how it is. And some people may shy away from certain portions or topics in their life because they really aren't ready yet to share. It's not that they're emotionally unavailable. It's just not the right time, or maybe it's too soon in the relationship. But if it's consistent and there's a consistent lack of transparency about, you know, their emotions or what they went through, then they're probably emotionally unavailable. And it's really a roadblock to communication because, I don't know if you guys have been in these conversations too, but it's a lot of, kind of, let's not talk about me. I'm gonna talk about you. You know what I mean? So how was your childhood? And you keep it like, okay, you always want to know about me, but I still don't have a good sense of who you are. Like, who is this person? And every time you go there with them, they want to flip it back on you. And you're like, come on now. Give me something, throw me a bone here. I'm really trying to get to know you, but there's nothing there. And then there's a lot of inconsistent communication. People that say, I'll call you back, or give me some time and I'll get right back with you. But you're never really sure when that get right back with you is. You're waiting and waiting and you feel like, okay, he said he was going to call me back. Is that an hour? Should I call him back the next day or whatever the case is? Because you never get a clear sense of when that call is ever going to come. And typically, it may not come with emotionally unavailable people. And so we'll talk about that here in a minute, and then there's a difference. And I want to say this too, between someone who's emotionally unavailable and then someone who just is taking their time to get to know you. You gotta, there's some key words there. Rather than, I don't want to talk about it or flipping it on you. Maybe this person says, hey, I just like taking my time. You know what I'm saying? I just want to take my time, a little bit at a time, and see how we go. But there's a consistent but slow, opening up or communication there. There is a certain depth to that conversation. It's just taking a long time. That's totally different than a completely unavailable person. Unavailable person. That person just doesn't want to talk about it at all. So have you guys ever had any dealings with people like that? Hit me up in the comments. We don't really have the call today, but if you guys hit me up in the comments, then I will put your comments up there and we can talk about it, But I've had several, as I look back, I've had several relationships or, dating courtships that were with emotionally unavailable people. And I didn't understand that at the time. But as I look back now, I can see how they just were not available for me. And I felt like I was in a one-sided relationship. And so we'll talk about that too, like feeling like you're in a one-sided relationship or even a friendship. Those relationships where you're the one that's constantly reaching out all the time. And the only time you hear from that person is when you text them, they respond, maybe give you a one-word response. Or if you call them to see, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. All right. I'll call you back or whatever. And you never get that call back. Maybe they're emotionally unavailable. They don't ever call to see how you're doing. They don't call to see if you're okay. You just say, hey, I was thinking about you, what's going on or whatever the case may be. That doesn't happen. It's always one-sided. And so you're left feeling like, man, if I didn't take the time to reach out to this person, there wouldn't even be a relationship or wouldn't even be a friendship. You know what I mean? Um, that person, I was dating someone too who I always wanted to do something. Actually, it was an ex-husband. Okay. I'll be transparent with y'all. Okay. It was an ex-husband, but I used to always want to do stuff. And I was the one that was always making the plans. Like he would never initiate any plan. And then it would be like, all right, we got all these things. Yeah, yeah, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter, what it is, or okay, just tell me where to be. But then when the day comes, then he wouldn't want to go. And I was like, I made all these plans, I spent all this money, and now here I am, and you don't even want to come. And that was really, really frustrating to me. And I didn't understand what was going on with him. But now I can see, and now that we've actually had conversations, he was emotionally unavailable during that time. And I spent a lot of time and energy trying to, make this relationship right when you can't do it with only one person. You can't do it with only one person. So, it's one of those things that they're not investing in this relationship, in this friendship. It's frustrating to you. And then sometimes you're like, do they even like me at all? But they're there just enough to keep you, kind of dragging along. Like, oh, well, he answered my phone call this one time, or he did go to this one place, so he must like me, right? But then in the big scheme of things, you know, 99 times out of 100, that person is not there, doesn't show up. They don't respond. You're the one reaching out to them all the time. And so that, you know, really is another barrier to a healthy relationship, whether it's family, whether it's friends. Because we all look, let me just say this, we all have those friends who want to travel, right? Be like, oh yeah, 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 we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. We make plans. Somebody spends all the time to get everything together, and then the day of the event nobody shows up, and you're like, okay, so am I doing this by myself? Okay. And a lot of people like, oh, I'm not going by myself. I just learned to say, you know what, I'm going by myself. I'm going to do whatever it takes to do, whatever, and enjoy myself. Because that's what it's about, right? It really is. You got to take care of yourself even when other people are not there. And so, have you guys ever had any experience with that? Let me know, because I know I see memes all the time on Facebook and stuff like that, where people like, make those plans whether anybody goes or not. Travel solo, because people will make plans with you and have no intentions, because not just financially, but emotionally, they're not invested in the relationship. They're not invested in the friendship, and it becomes a one-way thing. And they don't think about the time and the energy that it took for you to make all those plans and do everything, but they're just not there. They're just not there. Yes, yes. And I was just saying, I really had my ex-husband was like that. And it was so frustrating that I felt like I was in a relationship by myself. I was the one always making the plans. I was the one always, trying to get us together as a family to do stuff. And I was just like, why are you here? If you're not willing to put in any effort, why are you here? And it was so frustrating. And it really got in the way of the relationship. There was so many levels to it, so many things that were going on that I was unaware of, from childhood, from previous relationships, from, the dynamics in the family, that really, really played a part in the overall, our marriage. He just was not emotionally ready for that type. And so in my mind, I'm like, so why'd you marry me? You know what I mean? Like, we could have just been friends or whatever the case may be. But I think sometimes there's that seeking that connection there. You're looking for that thing that you're missing. You find somebody, but then you find out that you're really not ready for it, because you can't give what you don't have, or what you don't understand, or what you never received, because you don't know what that looks like. And so that's pretty frustrating. Pretty frustrating. So, and I'll say this too, with emotionally unavailable people, after my divorce, I was trying to date this one guy. I figured, he was older. And so they always say, well, older people, a little bit more settled. They know what they want. They, are more consistent, more this and this and that. So, he's in his 50s. I'm in my 40s. And so it seemed like a good idea, right? And no, after a while, he would make plans, and then every time at the last minute, he would be like, "Oh, something came up, or I gotta go check on my mom, or I gotta do all this and all that." And so finally, it was to the point where we were supposed to go out to do things, and I would be dressed and everything like that. And I was like, "Well, life goes on. I'm gonna do what I have to do," you know. So I would continue to do what I had to do, and he would, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I'm like, "Yep, okay." So every time he would call and make a plan, I didn't I always had like plan B, or like life would still go on, because he was so inconsistent that I knew that if I was waiting on him, I wasn't gonna go nowhere. So then he finally invited me to this ball thing. And so the day the ball came, he comes, he's all ready and everything like that, but he hadn't said anything all the way up to. So I was like, okay. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to this ball. I'm gonna go to," and I'm like, "Did you forget that you invited me to the ball?" And he was like, "Oh, well, I didn't really think that you was going to go. Why wouldn't I go if I said I was going to go? You told me what I had to wear, the whole nine." And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just going to go up here." I said, "Okay, well, I'll call you when I get back. Don't bother." And he was like, "No, I'm going to call you. No, don't bother." So I didn't talk to him. Then he calls me back again. "Oh, I want to take you here." Inconsistent, didn't want to do it. He was like, "Well, why?" I said, "Because I need somebody who is consistent and who keeps his word. And you do neither." And he was like, "Oh, you just really gonna say that?" I said, "Well, it's the truth, and you need to know the truth. I don't know who you've been dealing with, but this is not okay with me." I said, "There have been several times where you have broken your commitments, and I'm not your backup plan. Like, I don't know who you've been dealing with, but you got the wrong one." And so he was like, "Oh," so he continues to call all the time. "One day you're gonna give me that second." No, I'm not. And one day I remember calling. I said, "Look, are you seeing somebody? Because this is not the behavior of someone who wants to be with somebody." And he was just like, "Well, no, no, no. I just got a lot of things going on." But the more I got to know him, and this is over 2 years span, I realized that he really was emotionally unavailable. He didn't want to have any sort of intimate connection with anybody. It wasn't that he was too busy, because he made room and time for the things that he thought was important. He can go and help his buddy or something like that, but he couldn't keep a plan with me. And I really believe that it was because he just wasn't ready for that type of commitment, or that kind wasn't he didn't want anybody to get close to him. Anytime I would talk about him, it was nothing. He would talk about his family and everything else, but nothing about him, his relationships, anything. And so, I just that those key things for me that led me to say, I'm not going to waste my time anymore, because he's not ready for what I'm ready for. Very nice looking guy, very nice guy. The ones that you want to say, okay, this is the type of person that I could, settle down with, but he wasn't ready. There was nothing that I could do to make him ready, because he emotionally was not there, was not ready to be vulnerable to any person, let alone me. And so, and I also want to tell you, say this too, that a lot of people, they'll always be like, "I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy." Or some people be like, "Well, I'm really an introvert. It takes a lot for me to get out." There's a stark difference between an introvert and a person who's emotionally unavailable. An introvert really is like, you get your energy from being alone. That's when you recharge your batteries. That's when, you kind of come alive, so that you can go out and face the world or do whatever you have to do. Emotionally unavailable people, they may be out there, they may be extrovert, they may be doing all the things, but any sort of attachment to a person that renders them somewhat vulnerable or open, or they have to be have some sort of emotional depth to them, they run away from. And so they make excuses about why they can't be there, when in actuality they can. They might be out doing something with their boys or their girls or something like that. And so, it's a difference. It's not just about being an introvert or an extrovert. It's whether you want someone you want to allow yourself to be open with somebody or not. So I know my mother just put up a thing. How does emotional unavailability look in women? And I really think that it's about the same, because I can think of myself. There was a time when I was emotionally unavailable. Again, it was, after a relationship, breakup in a relationship. And I didn't really want to put myself out there. It was like, I felt like it was time for me to date. But every time I got the opportunity, I was like, I'm tired today. I had a long day at work. Or, I gotta keep my daughter needs me. She has these things going on and I gotta be there for her. And I was really thinking about it now. I was not ready emotionally to allow another person in. And so I made a lot of excuses. I made myself very busy. So I would take on busy work so that I had no time to have those close connections with anybody, not just in a relationship, but even in friendship. So I've had spaces in my life where I was pretty much alone. And it was just because I didn't have the emotional capacity. I was too busy trying to take care of my own emotions. And I was too busy spending my energy trying to make sure that I was okay, that I didn't have enough to give anyone else. And so anytime someone tried to get close to me, I would make excuses as to why I couldn't do that. A lot of times it was my daughter or my kids. A lot of times I blamed it on work, or I had to, do something else. I had another commitment. I would volunteer a lot. And I'll tell you, my friend, he used to always say, every time I would immerse myself in stuff is what I say, he would always be like, Camille, what's going on in your life? And I'm like, oh, I'm good. He goes, because every time, you got a lot going on, you immerse yourself in stuff. And it was usually around the time when someone was trying to get close to me or something like that, I would render myself so busy that I had no extra time to do anything with anybody else. So for you women out there who maybe have gone through it or know somebody who has, what is that? What does that look like for you? What does that look like for you? It is attachment issues. Absolutely. You don't want to be vulnerable to anybody. You don't want them to get that close to you where they can, hurt you. Really. I think it's a defense mechanism. You don't want to get hurt. And so you block anybody who gets close to you enough that you feel they can hurt you, or they can disappoint you, or they can let you down, or, all those things. If it's something that stems from, your childhood, neglect and all that kind of stuff, you start distancing yourself from people, not letting them in because you don't want them to take you back there. And sometimes, unfortunately, we do it to the people who would probably be best for us. But we are very, very, we just don't want people to come in. Those people, we can't really, it's hard to differentiate a person who's, worthy of your trust and who's going to safeguard your feelings and your emotions with the person who's just going to hurt you. So, that's one of those things. Are you being defensive of your feelings? Can you elaborate on that a little bit, just a little bit for me? So actually, we'll come right back to that, because right now we are going to go to our sponsor.
Integrity Consulting and Professional Services, LLC, is a minority, female-owned, nonprofit management consulting agency located in Humble, Texas, north of Houston. The owner, Jackie Dozier, has over 36 years of nonprofit and for-profit business management experience. She can take your idea from thought to manifestation while offering a myriad of services to help you successfully manage your business along the way. Her services include state filing anywhere in the United States, getting your employee identification number and 501c3 tax determination, providing cooperative and service agreements and mandatory documents, one-on-one grant writing training and consultation, board and staff development, and more. Ms. Dozier's clients include the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services, the Administration of Children and Youth, U.S. and Caddo Parish, Louisiana Departments of Education, and the list goes on. References are available. Check her out on our Facebook page, Integrity Consulting and Professional Services LLC, and contact her by email at integrityconsultingpsllc@gmail.com. Rates are competitive. Say you heard about her on Sanity Check for a 5% discount. ICPS, providing all of your small business and grant writing needs with integrity and professionalism.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sanity Check. I'm Camille. I'm a co-host. My co-host Seth is out today, but I just want to say thank you guys for joining us. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, please share. Please share this page with your folks. Share this segment with all of your friends and family. Thank you so much for being here. And if you would like to have your business sponsored on this page, please reach out to us. We would love to have you on here and the beautiful video for Integrity Consulting. Everything is done with professional, and we would do the same for you. So if you want to become a sponsor, please reach out to Seth or myself, and we'll be happy to help you through that process. So back to Yolanda. So we're talking about emotionally unavailable people. And those are the people who just there's no depth to their feelings. They don't want anyone to get close to them. So they may be very evasive. They may be very, standoffish. They may have outbursts of anger, of frustration. You never really get a sense of who they are, because every time, you ask questions, try to communicate about who they are, they may tend to turn it on you. And so we're just talking about some different ways to identify emotionally unavailable people. And so again, we're going back to Yolanda. And she was asking, are you being defensive of your feelings because you're not wanting to be hurt again? So you defend your feelings by not being in any significant relationship or attachment. And that is what happens a lot of the time. People will just, like I said, those people that are serially single, or they have very short relationships. They don't have any relationships of depth. They're 30, 40, 50 years old and have never had a real relationship, any lengthy relationship, because they shy away from letting anybody get close to them. And that happens in so many different ways. And Jackie says here, after 27 years of being single, 3 broken marriage engagements, I finally quit running and decided to allow myself to heal these past 2 years. I'm happy to say I put myself back on the market for marriage. That means I'd have another stepfather. I don't know how I feel about that. No. I want my mom to be happy. She's a wonderful person and deserving of love. And I think that it's about time. All of her kids are grown, and we're all out the house and have our own children. So it's time for her to be able to spend her life with someone who loves her. So, good luck with that, Mom. Praying for you in that. So anyway, we're going to talk about other ways to recognize or identify people who may be emotionally unavailable for you. And so, whoa now. Yes. But so anyway, another thing is, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a relationship, and I have, where people be like, they don't want to put a definition to it. They always say, we're not going to label this relationship. You start putting labels on it, then, it goes sour. No, it doesn't go sour because of a relationship. I mean, because of a label. A label is just a label. You know what I mean? It's what you do in that relationship that makes it go sour. But a lot of emotionally distant people or unavailable people, they don't want that. That label is an attachment. that means that there's something more than just we're casually dating, or those people to say, oh, I don't want no pictures posted of us or anything like that. I don't want people in my business. Well, a lot of times it's because, again, that means that there's some sort of attachment with another person. And you have to be wary of those people because they're telling you right there what they want. I just want to casually date you. I don't want to be exclusive. I don't want to, I want to see other people. I want to just, have my space and my time. And that's well and good. But where it goes wrong is when that's not communicated properly, and you get involved with a person who really, really likes you and is trying to form an emotional attachment with you. And you just say, okay, we can do all the things. They're introducing you to their friends and their family. You guys are going out on dates, hanging out, staying over, whatever you guys are doing, like you're a real couple. But I can't label it. After 6-7 months, well, what are we? And then you start asking those questions. What are we? Well, are we just dating? I mean, is this exclusive? I don't want to really, say that we're exclusive because, I might want to date or you might want to date. And that's okay. You can go out. When you deal with people like those, those people that say things like that, they're probably emotionally unavailable for you, which means that it's going to be near to impossible for you in that state to form a lasting relationship with that person. So you're probably just wasting your time, to be honest, and I've been in those types, and it's like, well, I don't want to say this. No, it's almost like when people say Facebook ruins relationships or marriages. No, Facebook didn't do it. It was all of them comments and likes and hearts and them DMs that you were sending that did it, that your partner found out about. So it's the same thing with that. It's not the label itself. It's the fact that you don't want to be in a relationship. So you should be honest with that person about it. You should be honest and just say, look, I'm not emotionally available. I just want to have somebody that I can go out on a date with, have fun with, and then we out. You go your separate way, I go my separate way, and then we just, go from there. But people don't do that. They're not honest about that. And so it's hard for them, the other person especially, to have those relationships. So, it's the moment you try to build anything with that person that they just say, And here's another thing too. Sometimes people are emotionally unavailable because they're still making themselves emotionally available to someone else. They still have that, Jim Bob is going to come back into the picture eventually. And so I won't say they're lonely, but they want to have, interaction from, say, the opposite sex or whoever it is they like. But emotionally, they're still connected to someone else. And sometimes you'll hear that if they a lot about their right, they keep bringing up this person and how they used to do X, Y, and Z. They may still want to be there. That's just the truth of the matter. Sometimes they are making themselves emotionally available to someone else, which means they are emotionally unavailable to you. And I know we've probably dealt with people. You're like, well, dang, this person at the drop of a dime, you'll go do X, Y, and Z. But if I ask you anything, it's like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have this and this and that. And you're like, okay, so what are we doing? What are we doing? In the big scheme of things, what are we really doing? Again, they always talk about these feelings, and it might go back to, I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready. If they're telling you that, believe them. Okay. Believe them, believe them, believe them. Another one of the signs is they're not affectionate, or maybe not consistently affectionate. Maybe occasionally, you'll get the kiss or the hug or something like that. But typically, if their emotions are not in it, they're emotionally unavailable, that translates into your intimacy as well. It may end up, I don't know, feeling like maybe a brother or sister relationship. And it doesn't mean that sex is is the only thing to intimacy. Not saying that, but we all know the intimacy is touch, is kisses, is compliments, and it's sex, all of that wrapped up. But if that is like really, really like vanilla, you feel more like this is a roommate rather than a partner or a, we're like, oh, homies type thing, they might be emotionally unavailable to you. So you have to pay attention to those things. And some people, they're not really affectionate people, but we're social beings, right? So we thrive on human interaction, on touch. It makes us feel a certain way. And when a person is just okay with not having that all the time, there's probably some deeper issues that you have to really, really, really pay attention to, And another one of those things is space, I know. Why do we stay with people who show us all the reasons why they don't want to be with us? I think that it has to do a lot with our own self-image, what we feel we deserve, our self-worth. Because if it's in the tanks, then we'll accept whatever. Because it's kind of like that saying, like, a little bit of something is better than nothing at all. That's not really true. I mean, you're selling yourself really short when you say that, right? We just want to be connected to someone. So we'll take the bottom of the barrel just to say we have something. And a lot of times it's because maybe we don't feel like we deserve anything more. Maybe we've done some things in our life that we're not proud of. Maybe we've, hurt some people in the past. So we feel like this is our karma. But no, nobody has to live like that. You can make the choice to just say, you know what? I'm taking my energies elsewhere, to someone who will reciprocate that thing that I'm giving to them as well. So they show us all the reasons, all the red flags. But if we don't feel like we're deserving of more, we don't, a lot of people, I don't want to hurt their feelings. Well, they hurt their feelings all the time. You ain't saying nothing about that. You know what I mean? When they don't show up on time, they don't honor their commitments. They don't give to you. They keep telling you they want this relationship to be a secret. They hurting your feelings. It's best just to be honest, be hurt for a second, walk away and find someone who is willing to give you that which you deserve, period. I know it's easier said than done, but like my mom used to always say, the more you do it, the better you get at it. And I'm not talking about the people that, the unemotional, they just cut people off, at the drop of a dime for no reason. But if you're being neglected in your relationship, whether that's physically or emotionally or mentally or whatever, then it's probably better for you to walk away, because all of the time that you're wasting there with an emotionally unavailable person, you could be giving that energy to somebody who's invested in you, who is reciprocating those things, who wants to see you win, who is encouraging you, who is giving you those compliments, who's, stroking your ego, so to speak, and who's doing all the things that you require, for your well-being. But I don't know. We stay a lot. So, and another thing is, those people that want space, unreasonable space. Let me say that, unreasonable space. Because sometimes I like my space. I need my space, my quiet. That's where I think, because I am an introvert. So I need that time to myself, that it's not a lot of stuff going on, because that's when I'm the most creative. That's when my mind just goes and I'm able to really do the things that I need to and want to do. When it's a lot of noise or a lot of things around me, I have too many distractions and I really can't focus the way that I need to. Some people can focus in chaos, all to them. But when it's unreasonable space, every time you come around, or they make excuses and they'll be like, oh, I need my space to do this and this and that. And you go, okay, well, when is a good time? It's never a good time to come in. There's never a good time to spend time with you, because they always need their space. It's like, okay, so why am I here? What do you want me for? Is it just for, the physical contact or something like that? Or is it really, really because you really need space? And a lot of people will pull back, and that's the way of saying that. when they feel like somebody's getting too close to them and they're not ready for that level of intimacy, they will pull back. And then sometimes it could turn into a fight because it's a control thing. They're fighting for control of their feelings, of their emotions. They're fighting to keep them away from that other person. And the other person is like, what? And that's those angry bird outbursts, that I need my space. Well, I need to spend time with you. Well, I need my space to do this and this and that. Because during that intimate time, maybe, or that time when you guys are together, that person may feel a little bit vulnerable. And that's a kind of uncomfortable. You want people to respect your feelings, your space, but then you got to think, to yourself, is this reasonable? Am I asking something of this person that, is unreasonable? All of those things. And so I just, I remember, in my marriage to one of them, I always felt like I was walking on eggshells. There was nothing that I could do. I was so busy trying to balance, being the perfect wife and doing the things I needed to do to take care of the household and taking care of the children and taking care of my husband's needs and giving him the space that he said that he wanted. And, being mindful of the fact that he didn't want to talk about this. And so many things were going on, and I was trying to balance all of these things, and it drove me crazy. I felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time. Like I was on edge all the time, which in turn, the house was on edge all the time. And it wasn't until after I got out of that relationship that I realized it was because he was emotionally unavailable, didn't want me to get close to him. So nothing was ever good enough. It was always a fight, always a struggle, because anytime I broached upon any level of closeness with him, he would lash out. And I didn't get it at the time. And I'm like, here I am in this marriage, what's mine is ours, with this. And it was always this struggle, this fight. And he just was not ready to open up emotionally. But I didn't know that. And I spent a lot of years, doing this crazy dance and fight thing. And we never grew closer. We grew so far apart. There was never any real intimacy anymore. It was like the longer we spent together, the further apart we were. And I was so confused. And I'm like, after 10 years of being together, then we should have some level of something. And there was nothing, now that I think about it, there was nothing I could do because, like my mom said earlier, he had to heal himself. He had to make the choice to deal with his unresolved issues. A lot of them that are stemming from childhood, that I had no idea about because he wouldn't open up to me. And this is so true. And I talked about before, Carla, when I about lost myself. And I had, it was maybe one of the poems I wrote or read or something, that I almost lost myself trying to be everything for this man who wasn't trying to be anything for me. And you're morphing into, okay, well, he wanted this day, so I'm gonna do this, and the next day it ain't what he wanted, and so I'm gonna do this, and the next day is this, and then I'm trying to be this person for my kids, trying to be this person for work, I'm trying to be a basketball mom, I'm trying to be a soccer mom, I'm trying to do all of these things, and I completely lost who I was. Like, it was never about Camille's needs. It was about everybody else's needs. And I'm morphing into all of these different roles, so much so that I didn't even recognize myself anymore. And every time I think about that, it kind of, evokes some emotion because I was so far, like I said, there was a shell of me that walked like me and talked like me, but I was nowhere to be found. In the inside, I was just completely like, I didn't know what was coming and going, one thing to the next. I was like, oh my goodness. And so, I think about that just because it took me so much to find who I was again. And that's a hard place to be. I know a lot of people have probably been there and done that. And then you really try to figure out, was it me? Was it not? And then when you realize that it was not you, then there's some relief, but it's like, man, I've given all of this to this person who gave nothing back to me, and I lost it. And that person has walked away and, goes on with life, and you're left kind of feeling. But that's why we're talking about this, right? Sanity check, so that we can help you guys identify some of the signs, so that we don't get in these relationships again, or very, very early, we can identify them, and we can make the choice to walk away, knowing that this person is no longer emotionally or not emotionally available to me. And so I would be wasting my time if I engage in any sort of relationship other than a friendship. If you're okay with that, there's some people that are like that, and two emotionally unavailable people, or somebody who just wants to casually date at the time, then that may be a perfect union, but for the other people who are looking for relationships, or when they get with this person, they have an expectation of a relationship growing, then, they can say, okay, these are the signs. This person is not ready for what I'm trying to do. They're not on the same page, not on the same wavelength or anything like that. And I don't have to deal with that. You know what I mean? We're not going to grow closer. We're not going to get past this. We're just going to see each other, text every now and then. Hey, I'm bored. I want to go bowling. And that's about it. And we got to be okay with that. So, it's just one of those things. But I also want to talk about, I think my allergies are bothering me too, y'all, for real. But talk about other people. We talked about other people, but what about us? How do you know, or how do you recognize if you're the person who is the emotionally distant one? Are you in a relationship that you're not happy? It kind of goes back to, what my mom was saying. We stay in these relationships, but are you in a relationship where you're not happy, or you don't get excited about spending time with that person? It feels more like an obligation rather than something that you really desire. Like, I'm excited about this relationship. It feels more like an obligation. Are you like withholding your feelings, your intimate feelings? You don't want to talk about hopes and dreams. Are you the one that's like, you know what? It don't really matter. It's all good. I dream, but it ain't really that, that deep. It's not really, I don't really want to talk about it. Are you the person who doesn't want to talk about your family dynamic? I said, my friend now, he's, I said, look, what you see is what you get. You might get a little crazy here and there. He was like, oh, there was no honeymoon at all. I'm like, look, this is what it is. This is what it is. And so, being able to talk about the good, the bad in the family, it's nice. But there are times when you don't feel like that. And I've been in relationships where I didn't want to, because it wasn't important, because to me, it was no point, because the relationship wasn't going anywhere, and this person was trying to get to know me. And I was just like, I'm not that into it. It was one of those things that kind of takes up time, space, I guess. And so I eventually had to communicate that I'm not looking for anything deeper. I just really want somebody to just have fun with. I'm at a point where I've had a lot of things going on in my life, and I just want to spend time. I just want to have fun, like a friend rather than a relationship. And so he was like, okay. And so once that was communicated, we would go out and have fun, go to the movies, go bowling, go, hop, whatever. We did a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But it was fun, and I gained a friend, which I still have, rather than trying to create a relationship when I knew I was not emotionally ready. I just wasn't there. I didn't want to talk about nothing serious, nothing heavy, nothing in depth. I didn't want to talk about my feelings. I just wanted to go and have fun. Let's go and jump off these cliffs. You know what I mean? Let's go and hike up these hills and mountains and, do all of these crazy things, left, right turns, and take pictures and run away because we ain't supposed to be in this. That's what I wanted to do, just to get my mind off of everything. And it was once I really communicated that to him that, Social boyfriends. Yes, social boyfriends. But when I communicated that to him, it was no hard feelings, because it was like, oh, I was wondering why you never wanted to talk about this, or why I could never get a straight answer. But, sometimes we do that. If there's any sort of depth to their question that you have to answer, we shy away from. It might be because we're emotionally unavailable. Another thing is if you're overall distrustful of people. I know I always said I got trust issues. I got trust issues. Me and Seth laugh about it all the time. I got trust issues. I'm getting over that. But if you're overall, distrustful of people, it's very, very hard to be trusting in a relationship. And you're probably emotionally unavailable, because when you don't trust people, you tend to push them away. You don't open up to them. There's no emotional intimacy, because you're always looking for them to hurt you. You're, instead of just enjoying the time, you're looking like, is this really going to last? Is this person going to do this to me? Are they really serious about what they do? Oh, I don't trust what they say. You're always looking for the negative. And trust me, if you look, you will find it. Like they said that, what is it? The Native American proverb, there's a wolf on each shoulder. Whichever one you feed is the one that wins. It's the same thing. When you're distrustful of people, it's very, very hard to form intimate bonds and relationships with them, because you're always looking for how they're going to hurt you, like the last person. And how many times, y'all, real talk, how many times have we heard people go, we like, I'm not your last boyfriend, or I'm not your last girlfriend. I don't know who hurt you, but it wasn't me. Like, you're not about to take this out on me, because I haven't done anything to you. How many times have we heard that, or how many times have we said that? And it's typically because it's probably you're dealing with an emotionally unavailable person who is projecting all of those fears on you. So there's that barrier between you guys from being able to form those very intimate bonds. Very intimate bonds. I don't know who you was dealing with before, but it wasn't me. And you're not going to talk to me crazy like that, or you're not going to do that to me. And so I've caught myself several times saying that. And then I go, oh, maybe this isn't the person, because here I am, and there's something that's making these feelings of distrust arise again, or whatever, or they're distrustful of me for something that I hadn't done. Maybe it's time to find someone else who doesn't invoke or evoke those feelings in me. You know what I mean? So that's another way that you can kind of tell if you yourself may be emotionally unavailable. And then there's another one, you still want to date other people. You the person who doesn't want to put the labels on a relationship. The thought of being with one person, it just kind of gives you like anxiety, like I gotta be with one person for the rest of my life. Yeah, you're probably not ready for a relationship. There's some things that you probably have to resolve within yourself before you move on to the next person. You know what I mean? And it's okay if you want to date other people, but you have to communicate that. You have to let that other person know, so that they're not continually, investing all of their time and energy in a dead end relationship. That's courtesy. It's hard to do sometimes, but sometimes we'll be in a relationship and we find ourselves, like, dang, I wonder what it would be like. I wonder, if I was with, probably emotionally, again, unavailable to whomever it is that you have connected with. So we have to not only point the finger at other people, but we got to look at ourselves. And I talked about, before with the other people, but are you still emotionally attached to someone else? And a lot of times when we have these relationships and we're hurt and everything like that, we don't want to admit that those feelings linger for a long time, especially, you're in a marriage. You don't get in a marriage to get divorced. And so sometimes it takes a lot of undoing, not just a couple of months. People like, oh, you've been divorced 3 or 4 months. It's time for you to get out there. No, that takes a lot of undoing, especially if you've been married for a long time. You're used to doing certain things. So anytime you start doing something that y'all used to do, it may invoke another feeling in you that you were not ready for. And you're like, man, am I really? Or if you did something with somebody new that you used to do with somebody else, and you were like, man, it would be much funner if I did it with this person. You might not be ready. And then sometimes when you attach yourself with someone when you're not ready, you tend to think about other people or other relationships that may have been better or something like that, or maybe at a time when you were emotionally available. You start thinking about that stuff a lot. And you be like, man. And then you're reminiscing about the past relationship. You're thinking about all the fun y'all used to have. And that's dangerous, y'all. Let me tell y'all, that's dangerous because y'all ain't together for a reason, right? You're not together for a reason. But sometimes when we're, trying to move on and stuff like that, we forget about all of the issues that we had. And we're doing these things with other people. And it was like, oh, yeah, we used to have fun. But you forgot about all the other things that you had to deal with. Don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in it, okay? Always remind yourself why y'all not together again. So you don't go back, those flags that were boom, 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 and you finally heated, and then you're going to put them to the side. No, don't do it. Don't do it. But if you find yourself thinking about things like that, then you could be emotionally unavailable, And then here's another one too. Sometimes we seek people who are not available to us. We seek people who are emotionally unavailable or even physically unavailable. People don't want to talk about this, and I don't condone it. But let me just say this. A lot of people say, and I've heard it, and I watched television shows and everything like that. When a person is emotionally unavailable, but they want something, they will go out and seek somebody. Say if it was a married person, then I know I can't form any sort of real attachment because I don't want to leave my current situation. So I'll go out and seek somebody else who has as much to lose as I do, who is physically unavailable and emotionally unavailable, but we can get together at a certain time. Again, I don't condone it. I'm just talking about what happens, okay? People do that. Or they find another person who's as elusive as they are, and they'll be like, you know what? We can only meet on this day at this time for this. You can't come in my house. I remember there was a time where I was dating. You cannot pass the threshold of my door. You cannot, I'll drive my car and I'll meet wherever we go. You can't call me after 10 o'clock at night. I'm not staying anywhere else because I was totally unavailable, y'all. But I just wanted to get out a little bit. But people will seek other people like that so they don't have to form any sort of attachments. They don't have to be vulnerable in any type of way. They don't have to, open up their feelings because that other person really don't want to hear it either. They just want to get out and have some fun. So people will seek out people who are not available to them whatsoever. And you may think back to a time when that happened to you. You say, this casual dating or serial boyfriends or whatever you want to call it. But when you really peel back the layers of the onion, were you really in a position that you could be emotionally available to someone? Were there times when you really just could not open up and didn't want to? And maybe you wanted the fun to drown out all of the noise. Were there times when you push back on people, the moment they tried to get close to you? Doesn't have to necessarily be in an intimate relationship. It also happens in friendships. It also happens in families, where the people you be like, I don't know what's wrong with them. Every time I try to talk about them, asking what they doing, they going off and going all this and see you like, man, a lot of times, even growing up in the same household, we have different experiences. So we don't really know the depth of what that person has gone through or, the times when they were away. And so they can become very emotionally distant, very combative, very argumentative, have these angry outbursts and things like that because they don't want anybody to get close to them because then they think that they would be found out. That the things that hurt them, may seem like weaknesses to other people. And so they become very, very withdrawn from the family, very withdrawn from the people around them. So it's not just, again, intimate relationships. It could be friendships and it could be family as well. So those are some of the things, that we have to think about um, when we're talking about emotional availability. You know, um, who is it that you're really calling and sharing your intimate details with? Is it your partner or is it someone else? If it's your best girlfriend and that's the only person, you may be emotionally unavailable to anyone else to have any sort of intimate relationship. Something to think about. You know, do you rather text a person rather than having a face-to-face conversation with them? Because there's some people that, they say, oh, well, it was emotional cheating. People will talk to somebody, they will text them, they will, you know, on the internet or whatever the case may be, and they have these whole relationships with a person that they know that they'll never meet, that they'll never see, that will never have to get a glimpse into their real life. They feel like they can be honest with this person because it's a total stranger. They can change their page or cut it off or whatever the case may be. But that's devastating to the person that you're actually in relationship with, because it's like, why don't you want me to be a part of that? And sometimes it's because you feel, or I'm just saying you in general, that they have the ability to hurt you. There's a vulnerability with this person here that you live with every single day, that they could get in a way that nobody else can. Communication via text, you can change your phone number if you want to. It's easy, right? You just cut them off, block, social media block. They don't even have to know nowadays. They'll go to try to find you and they'll be like, oh, well, dang, I guess we're not friends no more. You know what I'm saying? And so if you find yourself in that type of relationship or on the other side of it, then maybe that person is not ready. You know what I mean? Is not ready. But if a person is committed, like you'll know that. You'll be able to feel that. They're going to open up to you. They're going to, allow you in their space. They're going to allow you into not just their physical space, but their mental space and their emotional space. And they're going to tell you their hopes and their dreams and their biggest fears and, the shortfalls and all that stuff. You guys are going to be able to have that deep conversation. And when we're talking about emotional unavailability, it really is the lack of depth of emotion. That's what it basically boils down to. There is no depth of emotional, And is it bad? Can be, but it's not necessarily bad to be emotionally unavailable. I'll say this, that hopefully, you guys are getting some good stuff from this, you know what I mean? That you can kind of see the telltale signs and stuff like that. But if you take all of this information and you start applying it to yourself and you start applying it to the people that you're surrounding yourselves with or the people that you're in relationship with, this is a perfect opportunity for you to confront whatever issues that you have going on, that may, be taking you there, that may keep you from having these emotional connections. This is a perfect opportunity for you to seek out someone, thank you so much, to help you to heal, whether that's a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever it is, to find those pain points in your life that you can say, okay, I've had enough. It's been so long since I've been able to connect with anybody on an emotional level. I need to look at myself. It can't be everybody else. I'm 40, 50, 60 years old and I've never had a relationship longer than a couple of months. What is it that I'm dealing with? And how does that, that will give you a glimpse into what type of help you need or healing that you need. And also, this is a perfect time for personal growth. Personal growth. Now that you know better, they say you do better. So you seek those ways to help you grow in those areas. Like I said, it could start with counseling. It could start with journaling. It could start with just speaking whatever it is that happened to you that kept you, or talking about that relationship that put that fear of, intimacy. And I'm not talking about physical intimacy only. I'm talking about emotional, mental intimacy with other people in you. Talking that thing out so that you can overcome the hurdles that are in your way that will allow you to grow. We were not put on this earth to be, you know, in what's the word, solitude. We're social beings. We need the love and support and encouragement of other people. We need people who are close to us, that can see areas of potential for us. But if we keep putting people out, we're really limiting ourselves as well, because we need a 360 view of who we are. We need people to give us feedback. But if we never open up and tell them the truth about who we are, how we're feeling, what we want in life, then we're blocking their opportunity or their chance to give us the feedback that we need to take us to the next level. So it really is an opportunity for all around growth in your life. And to stop feeling when we carry these things, and I'm talking from personal experience now, but when we carry these things, and there's that, we talked about, being free from shame and guilt. But when we hide these things and we try to close ourselves off to the world, there is so much guilt and shame associated with it. And there is a heaviness that you feel, and you're looking at other people. And what I found is even unemotionally or emotionally unavailable people still desire to have healthy relationships. So what it also can cause is for you to go and you're looking at other people and going, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I have that? Like, they seem so happy. And of course, y'all, we know we don't always know what goes on in the background. We see what people give us, what they present. But there are some genuinely happy people out there, people that have been married 40, 50, 60, 80 years. Believe it or not, 80 years. I saw a couple that's been married 80 years. Wow. Right. But you're looking at them going, I really desire that. But because of all of the things, that fear of attachment, that fear of vulnerability, that fear of being hurt, that fear of, rejection, taking root in us, it's like almost like there's no way that can be me. And you're looking at it and then you're like, but I want that, but you don't know how to get it. So, and you don't even know what's wrong or where to start. So as I'm saying all this, this is a perfect way to really kind of to identify some of those pain points and some of those areas that you can grow in and that you can work on that will help you. So, I'm just going to go through a quick recap though. And thank you so much, Chelsea. I appreciate you being on here and love this comment. Yes. So, we're talking about today emotionally unavailable people and some of the telltale signs. What that is, emotionally unavailable people are people, again, who have no emotional depth. They have a lack of emotional depth. Some of it may stem from childhood, some traumas and things like that, closely associated with the avoidant attachment style, which means that somewhere along the line, maybe their caregivers or their parents may have been neglectful or didn't give them the things that they needed. And so they became very distrusting of adults in their lives. And so they learned to be very independent. Those people, I don't need anybody. They're self-sufficient, very independent, have been from a very, very young age. But young people grow up and they turn into adults, and it translates into their adult lives. And they bring all of that with them, and then they start to exhibit those same things in relationships, where they don't want to be close to anyone. They will not talk about anything of substance to them, their hopes, their fears, their dreams, their downfalls. They don't want to talk about the intimate details of their families or maybe even past relationships, how they worked out. Emotionally unavailable people often don't have long-term relationships. They're serial daters, and they've only dated, a couple months here, a couple months there, a couple months, or whatever the case may be. They want to keep you at arm's length. They don't honor commitments. Some of those people that they always stand up people. You know what I mean? They say, oh, I want to do this. They'll make plans, but when the day comes, they don't show up. They don't keep their word. I'll do, I'll do, I'll do. But then when it's time for them to show, it doesn't manifest. People who just cannot, they get very, very testy. They don't want to get physically connected with people. They often cut people off at the drop of a dime and say, oh, they're too clingy, too emotional. They just want too much of my time, too much of my space. I just need my own space, not to be confused with being an introvert or just needing some space, but being excessive with the space that you need, meaning like, I won't hear from you or get a call from you in weeks, because if I don't reach out, you won't either, or you can never fit me in like you do everyone else. Then that's a problem. And you may be dealing with some emotionally unavailable people. So, and then we have to look at ourselves too and say, is it me that I'm talking about? Am I emotionally unavailable? And how is that affecting the people that I'm dealing with in my life? If the shoe was on the other foot, how would I feel if I always stood up somebody and there was no communication? Like we said, communication is key. You have to talk about communication. Talk about the things that are really going on with you so people know where they are. I would hate to be in a relationship that I thought was a relationship for 2 years, come to find out that you just wanted to casually date me. I mean, no. And some people string you along because they want that person that they can just kind of release, with, or go out on a date every now and then, but they don't really want any real relationship with you. And if you find yourself questioning, it's probably not really a relationship. Probably not really a relationship. And so I see this. What about catfishing? I'm not into the catfishing. Some of you guys may have seen the show Catfish, where people get on the show, or they have these, usually starts off as text or internet, something, relationships with these people, pretending that they're someone else. And then they, people like kind of get suspicions and stuff. And then they go and try to find out, and come to find out they're most of the time not who they said that they are, and people were ruining relationships over catfish. And I've seen so many that were in a relationship but fell in love with somebody that they didn't even know, had never seen, come to find out is somebody that they would never, ever, ever even talk about or talk to in the first place. Never had anything, or friends who were trying to get back at them for something. If you're in a relationship, I think that the best thing to do is be honest before you move on with somebody else, or I like to meet people up front, or at least see a video up front, so I know if I'm being catfished or not. Some people ain't into that. I don't know. Some people like surprises. I'm not into those kind of surprises. Not about to do that to me. But, it's a thing, though. It is a thing. But those people too are probably emotionally unavailable, or they have a sense of self that is not very positive, which causes them to try to be someone they're not, instead of just being who they are and attracting the people that they want, or who want to be in their lives. Because I don't care what you look like, what your there's always going to be somebody who wants you, or who wants to be in your space, or who is attracted to your personality or your gifts or your talents, or whatever the case may be. If you are just yourself, when you're your authentic self, you will attract the people who are supposed to be in your life, period. But when we're talking about emotional unavailability, you have to know when you're emotionally unavailable. And you could tell people that too. I dated at a time, and I said, I just want to date. I'm not trying to have any sort of relationship. You know what I mean? I just want to go out on a date, and I just want to have fun. And that person was very receptive to that and was okay with that, because I knew that I didn't have the emotional capacity to invest in another person when I was using every little ounce of energy I had to invest in myself to try to get over the things that I was going through. But again, people still like to have fun. You need to get out and get a break from life and all of your emotional, mental states and everything like that. You just like, look, I don't want to think about nothing. I just want to go and bungee jump. You know what I mean? I just want a partner to go do that. So again, communication is key. And just because somebody says, I want to take it slow, make sure that their actions are aligning with their words, that they are opening up slowly and not just using that as an excuse not to open up at all. Completely avoiding the intimacy or avoiding the vulnerability, state of vulnerability that they might feel talking about their own emotions. So, yeah. So I just want to reiterate that. And, we have a few more minutes here. Am I attracting after my kind? Exactly. The best people to attract are those who you attract being authentically you. You know, is it me? Am I putting something out there that's causing certain types of people to come? You know, so today I cannot do the phone calls. I wish I could, but if you type something or um, in the comment section, I can read it. But as you know, my co-host is not here, and he has a soundboard that has the calls on there. So unfortunately, I'm unable to take calls today. But if you have something that you want to share, please, please, please in the comments share it, and I will show it, and I will read it, and we can talk about it from there. And Mom, I know it's probably a lot. So I apologize for that today. But I just want to say, for those of you who hung in here with me, thank you so much for hanging in here with me. As Seth is gone, I know that we have a lot of banter back and forth. And so, it's a little bit different with just me, but I hope that I've given you guys something that you can take back that's good for you. And thank you for the World Chase Summit for being a part of this today. So appreciate you guys' support. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rochelle. So I just want to say, just take stock of where you're at and the people around you, who you are. Are you in that situation where you're emotionally unavailable, or are you attached to someone who is emotionally unavailable? You may not be able to, they may not be receptive to it. Maybe if you let them listen to some of the information, they'll be able to do a self-check, instead of hearing it from somebody else that they typically probably don't want to hear it from anyway. But I hope this information just kind of gives you guys a little bit of glimpse into, taking a look at yourself and the people around you and that you're attached to. And sometimes, again, people have gone through a lot of things when they were young, and we have to give them grace. Now that we have the information, we can treat them differently or treat them better or offer certain things to them if we see that they exhibit these traits all the time. And then it's going to be whether they want to do something different or not. We can't force anybody. You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. But the information is available. And this is what Sanity Check is about. We give you the information. Hopefully you take it and you apply it and you utilize it in your life. And hopefully it makes, your life a little bit better, or makes you think a little bit more, challenge yourself a little bit more, so that we can live healthier, more productive, and happier lives. In the end, I'm 43 years old, and I just don't want to waste my life anymore, being unhappy or being stuck in situations that I have the power to overcome. So, So I just want to say thank you guys so much. I know it's a few minutes left on here, but I'm going to end this broadcast here. But thank you guys so much for, just like I said, supporting Sanity Check, for hanging in here with me today as I hosted by myself. My co-host had life issues going on that really need to be taken care of, but he'll be back next Saturday, and we'll be doing our thing again. So I just want to say thank you all. I appreciate you, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful week leading up to the next Sanity Check. So take care, y'all. All right now. Bye-bye.